Hello and welcome to the Sober Freedom Podcast. I'm Christal.
And I'm Lisa.
And we're here to share our experiences of going alcohol-free and the freedom that it brings in the hope that it might inspire and support you in your journey.
Hi, I'm Lisa.
And I'm Christal. Welcome to the Sober Freedom Podcast. We have a guest with us today, Matt Dean, who is the producer of this podcast and is going to tell us a little bit about his lifetime and alcohol.
A little bit about my lifetime. Hello. Thank you for having me on your podcast, on our podcast. It's nice to be here. This is like the fourth episode that we recorded, and it's been really interesting sitting and watching and listening. So it's nice to be on as well, because a lot of things when you're listening to a podcast or when you're involved in a podcast or producing it, or, you know, not even as a producer, but just as a listener, lots of things go through your head, don't they? You know yourself when you're listening to a podcast, you're relating a lot of it to your own experience. And so in the last few episodes that we've recorded and that I've been listening to, a lot of it has been relatable to me and my experiences. And so it's nice to sort of have the opportunity to talk about it as well. I think we also need full disclosure, Christal, that we are related, kind of. And well, your partner is my brother. Yeah. And your kids are my nephews.
Yeah. And we've actually known each other for quite a long time, haven't we?
Yeah.
Because we met before I met Simon, your brother. So I think
2002 we met.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You can remember.
Yeah.
Wow.
We met at a festival, and you went to the university in Leeds, didn't you?
Yeah.
And you have lots of friends in Leeds, and I have lots of friends in Manchester. I'm from Oldham, but a lot of friends in Manchester. I used to go out with a student, and he used to go clubbing in Manchester a lot.
Yeah.
And so, anyway, in 2002, our crew went to Barcelona to the Sonar Festival, but there was this campsite. Not a campsite, but it was like with huts and stuff.
Like a caravan site.
Yeah, caravan site. Well, we stayed there, and your crew stayed there.
We're in caravans next to each other.
Yeah, caravans next to each other.
Sounds like a film.
It were messy. It were really messy. 2002. Remember, because it was the Euros in Portugal, and so we had all our England flags out and everything. And there was this poor couple next to us, this like Belgian couple. Like, oh my God, what's going on here? Because it just, and then they had some DJs on around the pool and these club nights and stuff, and we all got dressed up as women one night, went out in like drag, and like that was brilliant. We had such a good time. We all grew mustaches for the so we had mustaches and speedos,
including Christal.
Yeah. So that was when we first
crew.
met. That was when we all first met at that festival. So yeah, you all made quite the impression.
Yeah, yeah.
But I can't believe it was 2002.
I know. 22 years ago.
It just goes so fast, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But obviously that, I would say, was probably like the peak of partying time, would you say?
2002 was a great year. It really was. But yeah, it was messy, but it was a good year. Yeah, so things changed, don't they? Things changed. 2024 is very different to 2022, and it was interesting listening to your previous guest, Catherine, and you were talking about time as well, and things change. You know, life is not it doesn't. It has to change, doesn't it? You have to change. Things have to change, and I think a big part of maturity is understanding when things have to change, and I think like that's what I've heard a lot of when I've been listening to you talking in the last couple of episodes, the last few episodes, is about that awareness that it's the time for a change. And I think that it resonated when I was listening to Catherine talk about being an entrepreneur. You know, I've just set up this company, this podcast studio. You need to be on the ball, don't you? You need to be on it. You know, like you're a fitness coach. You know, you've got to deliver. You've got to be there, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, and
I can't be rocking up with a sore head. Yeah,
and so you've got to take those responsibilities. And you're a parent now.
I'm a parent and I run my own business
you run your
as
own
well.
business, so you've got like double whammy in it. You know, like
definitely.
so it's really, really being there and being present and being fresh is. And this is something that I did not experience for many, many a year. I mean, I was not fresh for a long, long time. So,
and I think there's an amount of time, you know, like when you're younger, where you can get away with it for longer, for more, you know, you can get away with it more. But also, I think sometimes when you're doing it day in, day out, where you're not fresh and you're having a few drinks, you don't necessarily realise the impact that it's having and how rubbish it's making you feel and how much it can take away. I think until you actually do have a break and step away from it, and then you really can sort of see how hard it was and how damaging it was.
I think we all have different constitutions as well, like in terms of like how we handle things and our mental fragility and our physical ability. I think, you know, you mentioned in the first episode that you didn't get hangovers. You know, that didn't last forever, but for a while. And we all know those people who can just seemingly like whatever the situation, the next day bounce back and they're fine. And it's like, wow, I was never able to do that. It's always like when I've got a hangover, I will, if it's really bad, I will let anyone down. I don't care. I'll just lie there and go in bed and go, I'm not going. And I did that so many times when I was younger, and I let loads of people down for committing not to go thing, because I'll just lie there and say, nah, I'm not going anywhere, I'm staying here. Like, I don't care who I let down. This is, and so that's not good. But I mean,
but at that time, did you feel bad about that? Or were you kind of like,
you feel bad
strong
about
in your
it.
opinion, like, no, I'm not going?
Yeah, no, you feel bad about it. You feel guilty about letting people down. But at the same time, it's just like, if I feel like shit and I'm lying in bed and I'm not, no way.
Or sometimes physically it's just impossible to like get out and do those things, isn't it?
But I'll give you a little bit of my story, because you know, going back to like 2002, like, I mean, I used to love going clubbing. I mean, I used to take more drugs than I used to drink, to be honest with you, when I was younger, because I love dance music. I love going clubbing, I love techno and trance and stuff like that. So I go out and have a really good dance and stay up for days, because you'd be taking, you know, amphetamines and things like that. And it had a really bad effect on my mental health, because it's not good for you, kids. Don't do drugs. You know, it's not good for you, is it? So then you sort of slow down on the drugs sort of thing. And I got very paranoid. I got very anxious, but things that you don't even realise when you're in it. You don't realise that you're actually just occasionally I would have like panic attacks and stuff, and then you realise that things aren't good. But then like you just kind of cope and you just get on with it. And then I got myself into about 2002 is when I moved into, there was a particular house, wasn't there, that we used to go to, Delacourt. It was the party house, and it had been the party house for years, and I moved into it, you know, which is, and it was at one point after living there for however a few years, a couple of years, whatever, I was like, I sat down one night, I was like, I can't even remember the last time I didn't sit down and open a beer or have a glass of wine or bottle of wine and a cigarette when I got home. Couldn't remember the last time that I didn't do it. I remember it was about October time, and so I said, right, I'm not going to have a drink for a week, and I'm not going to have a cigarette for a week, and you know. But by the end of the week, I stopped smoking. I gave up smoking because I thought, I can do this, so I did it and give up smoking. So that was one thing ticked. But drink is a different one, and for a long time then I used to. I kind of got into the routine then of going, this is in my sort of late 20s. And probably for another 5 years, 6 years or something like that, I would still go out and drink. And when I would drink, we'd go to a club, I would get tempted to do other things when I had a drink. So that kind of happened for a while. And then, you know what, it's only when I look back at it now and look back at how I was, I'm sort of unrecognisable really in myself. In terms of my temper, like my depression, all these kind of like really sort of unpleasant characteristics. Just because I was kind of like just holding on day by day for a long, long time. I was really struggling, and we never really I didn't even realise because it was just so normal.
And what age were you around at this time?
From pretty much from being like in my late teens through to being about early 30s, I'd say.
Really?
Yeah, because I used to we used to go out all the time.
Yeah.
Just go out every weekend, like just get through the week. I used to turn up at work sometimes. Occasionally I'd rock into work. I wouldn't have even been home over the weekend. You know what I mean? Like, and things like that. Stupid, really. So yeah, so it's a, sober freedom. It's not just about alcohol, is it? There's alcohol and there's other things that whether it's drugs or certain behaviours, things that you do, coping mechanisms.
Yeah.
Because I think that's what it comes down to is coping mechanisms, isn't it? So like alcohol for me has always been the thing that takes the edge off, but it's also the thing that takes the edge off the alcohol. So, like going out on and then on a Saturday or whatever, feeling absolute crap. Well, if you can get another 3 pints down there,
perk you up a little bit.
It'll level you off and it'll take the edge off. So it's always something that I guess I've struggled with. I didn't feel like I was struggling with it at the time because I used to enjoy going out and used to enjoy going clubbing. But really, it was interesting listening to the previous episode. I was thinking about, when Catherine was talking about going into social situations and where you don't know people. I think that I definitely used drugs and alcohol because I liked myself more on drugs and alcohol than I did when I wasn't on it. I found it easier to connect. I felt more relaxed. I felt I could be funnier. I could dance. Things that I felt like I couldn't do when I was sober. I felt like an enhanced version of myself for a period of time. And I think that's why I did it.
I'm quite surprised hearing you say that, only because when I've known you, but obviously some of that time you were drinking and under the influence, but you've always really struck me as a very confident and outgoing person.
Yeah. Are
you? Or was that all to do with like...
No, well, I am. I see. The thing is now, so like in about from about the age of 30, I moved. When did I move to Ireland? In 2011. How old was I then? 33. So I'd say from about the age of about 34. No, it wasn't really 34. From 2016, really was when I sort of like really decided that I've got to sort my shit out.
10 years ago.
About 8 years ago. I really. Because we went to France, we went to watch England in the Euros, and it was just ridiculous. It was just ridiculous, and we were only there for like 48 hours, but it was
like the drinking
just
and
insane.
partying.
Yeah,
really?
like and you find yourself getting into situations and like you've not slept and you're in France and you're lost everybody and you're on your own and you're like and all this. And then I was so depressed and ill and rough and all this kind of stuff when I got back. I was like, I really got to sort myself out. But moving to Ireland was kind of like the first step in a way because I moved away from my friends, my circle of friends who I used to party with. So in terms of that thing about people think that, I give that kind of, people think I'm like that, I'm outgoing and confident and stuff. And I suppose to some degree I am, but I don't think I always was. And as I was a kid, I was very shy. But I'm a bit sort of, I don't know, people use the term bipolar a bit too much. So I'm not saying I'm bipolar, but I'm introvert and extrovert.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I'm either like one thing or the other. And so like it's...
Or I'd heard anyone ambivert, which is sort of a description of that.
Right.
Google it.
Right, I will. Yeah, so I'm either like, when I was a kid, I was either like, playing football and being out and playing or just on my own and just wanted to be on my own and like cutting things out and making things and just, spending. So I think it's just a kind of this kind of like, I don't know about not really knowing who you are and being sort of like confused. And then when you throw alcohol and drugs into the mix, it just makes everything a whole lot worse.
Yeah, I think it can be a bit part of your journey, can't it? So like I like you, I was a really shy child. like painfully shy. So then I'd kind of got to a point where I was getting a little bit more confident and was able to sort of speak out a bit more. But that was probably around like 14. And then around the same time as that happening, I started drinking. And it was like a magic potion, really, because it did like reduce so many of those inhibitions. So I can really relate to what you're saying. And with that alcohol, it brought new social situations. But alcohol was like very present in that. So the people I was hanging around with were very alcohol sort of consumed. And then that's what's led me then to carry on drinking, it being a social thing.
Patterns.
You know, the thing about time that when we're talking about time, as I was thinking, as I was listening to the last episode, when you drink, time flies by. Like you can be out all day and all night, and it's like, where's it gone? Yeah. And then so if you're out sometimes, then the night's going and you start, you're drinking and you start feeling a bit tired and you're like, I'm a bit bored and I want to go home. But also there's a party that just wants to stay out. So that's why then someone's like got a bit of something that's going to give you a bit more of a boost and I'll have a bit of that. And then next thing you know, it's 6 o'clock in the morning, then it's 10 o'clock in the morning and all that kind of stuff. And you kind of don't want the party to stop. And I think that like when I look back on like me and my friends, and we used to be pretty hardcore. Like it would ruin most people. I'm not saying it didn't ruin me. It did ruin me. But like, it would just be very, very
endless,
heavy weekends. Like, starting on a Friday, you might get to bed on a Sunday night.
Can I just ask, just to your earlier point, when you moved to Ireland, was that a conscious decision to kind of like give yourself a fresh start? Or was that a different...
My ex-wife lived in Ireland, was Irish, and so I moved over there to be with her because she wasn't...
Okay.
We were living separately at the time.
Because
I think subconsciously maybe it was a way of getting away from where I was at, because I was still doing it, but I wasn't enjoying it.
Yeah, because there's a term called geographical change, where people kind of move city or move country to get away, to escape what they're experiencing right there. Now, say, for example, in Manchester. However, what's going on in here, in your head, doesn't go away. You're taking that with you. That's part of your suitcase. So because you've not, and you think, oh no, I'm going to move to Ireland, I make a fresh start, blah, 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 blah. But you're still carrying all this baggage in your head. And I know so many people who have done it and have done it with the best intentions of not being around that friendship circle that would always drag them back, only to find that because they've not tackled their, like, I don't want to say inner demons, but they've not tackled the reasons why they actually resort and like divert straight back to those behaviours and those thought patterns and those ways of thinking and acting, they naturally gravitate to those same people, but in a different location. So, like I say about operating on a certain vibration, you attract, like attracts, like, it's like you're not going to see Barack Obama hanging out on the street corner with a load of lads, because they've got nothing in common. So, but you so like attracts like. So whether you do it consciously or subconsciously, whatever your kind of level is at that point, you will seek those kind of familiar behaviours out in other people, whether that's to kind of comfort yourself or whether that's because you know nothing else. And you might not even be aware of it, but until you kind of unpack the reasons or the trauma why you use substance stays to numb down that pain as such, it doesn't matter where you go.
It's really it's true, and it's a difficult thing when, if you've got like a really obvious thing that happened to you in your childhood that was particularly traumatic, or that there's tons of things that might have happened to people. It's probably you might say it's easy to put your finger on why are you trying to do it. If you had a happy childhood and like you've like, it's harder to sort of to figure that out. And it's interesting, like what you said there. I mean, I moved to Dublin You know, like, I mean, the Irish are not exactly known as a sober nation, right? But when I moved to Ireland, I'm one of the few people who moved to Ireland and drank less than when I was here, because I had the football. So doing away days would be like 10 o'clock at the train station, on it straight away.
So playing football, like socially? Or?
No, like
right.
going watching Oldham.
Right.
I'm an Oldham fan. Like going away, get on the train, 10 o'clock, comes, you know, 4 o'clock in the morning, you're still out in Manchester. Do you know what I mean? So things like that. So that stopped, obviously, because I was in Ireland. But interestingly, a friend who's a DJ came over to Dublin, and I was probably only a year or so there, maybe less. And so I went out with him because he was DJing, and he, obviously, the promoter that brought him over and all his mates, and I met all these people. Went back to their house, stayed up till whatever time in the morning, and they were sound. It was so nice. It was like I found my equivalent group of mates, like you were saying, like a track. It's like I found those mates, like the potential group there, but I sort of didn't follow it up. I didn't carry on going out with them. It wasn't really like a conscious thing. It was just, but I think subconsciously I was aware that that's not what I wanted.
Right.
I didn't, you know, as much as it was great and they were all really nice and it would have been brilliant that wasn't really what I wanted. And so my ex was like going through a lot of sort of trying to find answers to health issues that she'd had and things like that. And so she got involved in this kind of like meditation group and stuff like that. And they used to meet at our flat and then it sort of got a bit bigger and started doing these things. Anyway, she wanted me to join in, or she wanted me to sort of do this self-exploring stuff. And obviously I was really, really resistant to it because it was like mainly women sitting around in a circle doing chanting mantras. And I was like, fuck that. And I used to go to the pub when they met at the flat. I'm not doing
drove you to drink.
That. I'm going to the pub. So when football will be on, I'll have a couple of pints of Guinness and, you know. So, it's that resistance to, it's the fear that you have of letting go of these coping mechanisms and going in, being honest enough with yourself and going into yourself. And it took a long, long time before I would start going to these things with her. And I did start doing it, and I did have some amazing experiences and met some great people. And it really did help. And, you know, I mean, can I put my ex through some misery over the years, you know, with, you know, it's one of those things. I don't want to talk much about that, but like, you know, I definitely needed to look at myself and wean myself off and away from the habits and the things that I was doing, if I was going to get to a point where I was comfortable with who I am and sort of discover who I am. And that's where I'm at now. And that started after that when we went to the Euros in 2016. Came back, I was like, can't be doing this. And then my mate came over and we went to see the Stone Roses in Dublin. And then like it was in June, and then like we were in the sea at like 5 a.m. while the sun was coming up, and it was amazing. But then I was bollocks because we'd been on the session, and you know, and I was just like, I can't keep doing this because it was really, really affecting my mental health. I was really struggling, and life was hard because of it. And relationships with family and my relationship with my ex and all that, everything was really, really hard. So like 2017, I didn't have a drink because I realised that alcohol is the gateway drug to other drugs. Because I would never touch anything when I'm sober, but X number of drinks in, you know, I'm game, you know, and I didn't want to be that person. I didn't want to be doing that. So I knew that if I wanted to see my friends in Manchester, if I came back to Manchester, I'd have to be sober because otherwise they'd be leading me down.
No drinks, anything to keep you off that path.
They'd be leading me down the wrong path and all that. So then that did change my relationship with alcohol after that, big time. And yeah, I think then after that, really, I would say it took me 10 years, to sort of undo, not undo but like put enough distance between the lifestyle that I used to lead and, I guess, kind of recover mentally and improve mentally. I reckon it took 10 years to be in the situation where I am now, where I'll walk into a room where there's anybody, I'm confident in myself, I'm embarrassed by myself, I'm doing something that I'm proud of and that I feel reflects who I am, rather than doing things that maybe other people I felt other people wanted me to do, or that I didn't have I never had that. I didn't have the confidence. You said about the confidence.
Well, it's not like a true confidence from coming within, is it? It's like an artificial one that alcohol's providing you with.
And even if it's not just with alcohol, it's just like a facade in terms of like meeting people and, singing in bands and stuff. And, look at that guy must have loads of, confidence and charisma and stuff like that. But it's kind of like you do it and then you're like exhausted from it. And it's just like a temporary thing. Whereas, you're not carrying yourself with like, your shoulders back and your head high and your chest out and going, this is me, this is who I am, and I'm proud of it. And, so like now I'm that person now, but it's taken me a long time to get to it. And sobriety and periods of sobriety definitely were important in me getting to this point, because it's only in those moments of it, like of where I'd been clear-headed to be able to reflect and doing some work as well. Do you know what I mean? Doing, like, I've done some retreats and fasts and group meditation stuff and all this kind of thing. Real introspection, been to India a couple of times and did things like that. So you do have to put the work in. You do have to be present with the feelings.
That's
and,
huge.
You know what I mean?
You can have periods of sobriety, but if it's just a case of you choosing not to drink in that time, or not to take anything in that time's just time.
Yeah.
It's not
transformative at all, is it?
No.
Not really.
But
it's for your body, maybe.
Yeah. But that said, to then make use of that time to work on yourself is very, very difficult. And you're there saying, it took you 10 years to kind of get to a point where you feel, do you know what? I feel actually self-confident now. I feel proud of who I am and what I'm doing. That, to get to that point, you've got like 20 odd years to undo of that. So it's not going to be an overnight thing. Definitely. And also to kind of do the work, which is really scary, which is why people stop, because it gets to a point where you might try to uncover, why is it actually I need to drink to feel better? Why do I need to take this to just have a bit of confidence or to last the night? It's when you get to that point of scratching the surface, it's like, whoa, actually, it's a bit overwhelming that. My head's like scrambled eggs. I can't.
It's hard. It's scary.
I can't do this. So then, the easiest thing is just to have a drink and go back to square one, because it's comfortable. You're in your safe zone there.
And I think it's all we've ever really known, because for most people like our age, in our 40s, like we started drinking really, really young. So it might have masked some insecurities and shyness, but then it's actually all we've known for like those early like formative days of us growing up and forming a personality, because we've been drinking since we were 15. So what you said about, it might, you can't necessarily pinpoint a traumatic experience. Well, maybe there aren't any. Maybe there are, but sometimes maybe there just aren't. But it's just all we've ever known and we've been conditioned to do, and we've not really experienced like adult life without that substance.
Yeah. And it's so ingrained in our culture. And the thing is, like what Catherine was saying and you were saying in the other episodes about when you stop drinking, the effect it has on other people. And the main thing, the real thing that really shocked me and when I was telling people, oh, I'm not having a drink, or I've not had a drink for a few months, or what? It's the fear in people's eyes. The reason that people react the way they do, in my opinion, is because when you tell them that you've done that, in that moment, it makes them confront the reality that they don't want to do it or couldn't do it, and it shocks them. And so they, rather than stop and take that in and address that feeling and think, do you know what? I've just had a moment of clarity here that I couldn't do that, and that shocked me. What they do is they just ping it back on you and say, you're, what, are you mad? Or you're boring, or whatever. It's actually what they're saying in that moment is, I've just realised that I couldn't do that, and that has scared me. Because a lot of people, especially when you get to our age, they've either realised that they want to stop drinking, or they're alcohol dependent, or, like yourself, you weren't alcohol dependent, but you knew you had a problem with it when you did drink. And I think a lot of people at our age are alcohol dependent. They're not addicted. They're not physically addicted. They're not alcoholics, but they need it in certain circles. They're dependent on it in certain circumstances.
They've lived their life with it there
exactly.
all the time.
And so it scares them to realise that not having that crux, not having that tool.
And it's not necessarily a stick to beat people with. It's just the reality. You know, it's just, we know no different. And that's what you were saying, Christal. Like, it's just, so like growing up, that's all we knew. There wasn't any other way of coping with like social anxiety, for example, than to have a drink. There's kind of like taboo. Well, just, what do you mean you don't feel normally? Sure, just have this drink. Get that down and you'll be sound. You know, and it's all we knew. Like, if you were to read a self-help book, oh, she's a bit dippy, a bit hippy-dippy. You know, it's like you're in that box or you're in that box.
KUPOD is Oldham's only professional podcast production company. Last year, we helped local businesses and charities share the full impact of their stories and reach new audiences across Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube and more. Our fully equipped studio is available to hire to take your video and audio podcast to the next level, and our team is on hand to help with everything you need to create your very own show. If you're in North Manchester and want to talk to the passionate podcast professionals, visit kupod.co.uk. KUPOD, be sound. It's that thing about calming your nerves. It's just like that, you know, like I was in Spain in we were in, not involved in an accident, but well, we were insofar as we were. This truck came down off the hill in Spain and it was heading towards the roundabout, and we were coming out on the roundabout. I was driving, and the roundabout was next to this motorway, and there was a bridge over the motorway, and it came down off the mountains, and this truck was coming down, and I'm looking up at the truck, it's not slowing down, that, and it came through and it smashed into this car, spun that car around, smashed into another car, flew over the roundabout, spun in the air, landed on another car. Like, this car blew up into flames. Like, 2 people were like incinerated in the car, like burnt to death instantly. Like, it was absolute carnage. Like, it was just like, my granddad was in the war, right? He was in the 8th Army in North Africa. And obviously I can't relate to that experience. But what I thought in that moment was, this is the closest I'll ever be, where it's absolute chaos and there's no control. Like, you have to just watch madness, just like people dying, people getting injured, like, just mental. And so obviously I went to the police station after this, and all I could think about was getting back so I could have a whiskey. Because you're like, do you know what I mean? Because you're like this and you just want something to calm your nerves. So it's like in a situation which is really traumatic like that, or any situation, but that's you go to, innit? Have a drink to calm your nerves. So if you don't have that, but we have it's the same with celebration, innit? yay, I've just passed my exams or whatever it is. Like, let's go out and drink. So it's like it's there, and it's there everywhere in between in the spectrum.
And I think, obviously, like drinking's associated, with any celebration, but any scary event, any sad event, funerals and things. And I think people say, like, well, what do you do to mark that occasion? Well, the occasion is the occasion. And I think, like, then to be saying, well, we'll have a drink to celebrate. It's actually like, once you can switch your mind, that's taking away from that experience, because if you can truly be there, if you're at a funeral, yes, the drinking might help calm your nerves and everything, but are you really being present to process what's actually happening?
Yeah, exactly.
No, not really, because you're focusing
on
the alcohol.
And that's the scary thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
You're not, you're leaving yourself exposed to your feelings, aren't you? And you're leaving yourself exposed to, like, what you have to, and understanding your body and you feel, because one of the podcasts we're working on is a yoga therapy podcast, and the meditation that I did was yoga meditation. It was like mantra based, so it was all about vibrations and, like, and understanding that your body is not a solid object, that it absorbs vibration and energy and all that, and you are this bundle of energy, and you have to understand what you're feeling. You have to understand, your body tells you things through, even like while we're having this conversation now, when you're talking about things, we're talking about experiences that I feel it in my gut. Yeah, do you know what I mean? My gut is telling me, it's talking to me. So this differentiation between your gut and your mind, and how your mind controls you, how your emotions control you, listening to yourself, not listening to yourself. And as soon as you realise that when you use drugs and alcohol to numb all that, and to have, because you do it because you control, you know what reaction you're going to get, the emotional response. Going clubbing with a room full of people when it's just nothing better. Like, it's music's banging, arms are in the air, it's 4 o'clock in the morning, it's just incredible. And you know that it's incredible, and that's the feeling you want. It's like a controlled release of joy and pleasure and emotion. And then the flip side, unfortunately, is you have to have for every high you have to have a low. So then you want to go back and get to that, and that's not, life isn't this, like, vast, or it shouldn't be this vast
high and low,
highs
extremes,
and lows. It's much more consistent. It's not about being, it's like getting used to getting content with just contentment, isn't it? And so and for years, I couldn't go out unless it was, it had to be the best night ever, or I was just pissed off.
But also there's a lesson, and I suppose a growing opportunity in becoming comfortable with being uncomfortable. Yeah. Because after a while, that feeling of being uncomfortable, if you really go into it, you take the power out of it, and then you go into the next opportunity where you're going to feel uncomfortable, whether it's a social occasion or whatever. But this is what I found with not drinking. My skin would feel like I'm crawling when everyone's drinking, everyone's having fun, and I'd just feel so awkward and so uncomfortable. But the more I did it, the more I was just like cool with it and confident in myself, and I could see myself growing and developing, because away from that, I would be like working on my own personal development. Now it's just, I just go. If I feel uncomfortable, it's not because I'm not drinking. It's more because, do you know what, I'm a bit tired of all these people now. I'm a bit peopled out. And I like my own company as well. I like a bit of...
You get like, there's like a fear of being boring, isn't there, as well? Like initially I think when you're younger, not when you're older, but the perception that people think you're boring and that you're dull. And then you yourself don't want to be dull and boring. And like, it's interesting because I know you, Christal, and like, I know.
I'm boring.
I know, no. I know, no, not at all. That's what I was going to say. But I know that when you go out, I've seen you in some states, is what I'm saying. Right. I know when you get levered. Yeah. And I also know, because me and my brother don't talk much on a sort of deep and meaningful level, but we have had some conversations. I mean, and my brother was the best thing you ever did was get pregnant and give my brother 2 sons, because it's totally been the making of him. It really has. Like he's a different person. It's just been the best thing to see him change and take on the responsibility and leave a life. Because if to be honest with you, like you and Simon, both of you can't handle your drink.
No, it was a bit of a nightmare. Really,
Simon would drink and just get into some state. He couldn't handle it.
Yeah,
I can handle I know how to drink me, so I can pace myself and I can put it away and put it away and put it away, but I won't get to the point. And you'll drink really strong drinks, like
I'll drink too
and Simon
fast,
will just
too
mix
strong,
everything together
and end in a state.
Whereas I'll just stay on the pints and so I can do the session and I can make it last for like. But that's just different. And I couldn't handle the drink and the drugs either mentally, but I like to think I could, and I enjoyed it and I tried, blah, blah, blah. But the point is that you come back to this thing, well, what do I want? Like Catherine was saying in the last episode, do I want sober me, and do I want these things that I've been working for however long with the business or whatever it is, or do I want to be struggling and not coping and you had to make that decision, didn't you?
Yeah, because even when you've just said that now, I can picture what you could actually see of me in a state, and I just no longer wanted to be that person, that version of me. I didn't want to show up in the world like that anymore. I think, like I touched on before, like because I'd started to do some other work, so I've set up my business, I've got the kids, but also being at the gym, starting to feel better and more comfortable and confident in myself has really helped me, like a stepping stone to that. But I think what you've said before, Lisa, like there are times, like what I've experienced now through not drinking, like there are times where things are hard and they are really uncomfortable. So like social situations or other situations, they are hard and they are uncomfortable. But every time you kind of get through another one of those without a substance, you're like, it gives you that little boost and that
it gets
confidence.
a little bit easier. Yeah.
And the gym, at the gym, that's happened as well by sort of doing different tasks, different experiences that feel like a challenge, and you're like, oh yeah, that's another boost.
Yeah, I think for me, like with what I'm doing now, I think people's stories are really, really, I think kind of what we have really. I think like having a legacy. You talk about legacy, leaving your story behind for other people to learn from is pretty much as much as you can do really. And so that's why I'm passionate about podcasting and helping people share their stories so that they connect with other people. Because that's where we get that learning from it, don't we? And I think, I've alcohol has crept back into my life more in say the last year. I did a few months where I didn't drink last year, I think it was, and that kind of reset my relationship with it again. But now after Christmas and stuff, I kind of like got sick of it. I'm sick of it again. I'm kind of just sick of it. So like, for the last week I've not had a drink, and I'm actually planning on staying and I think again, it's about like, talk about the people that you meet and the circles that you're in and what you consume in terms of listening, sitting in and listening in on these conversations. It has an impact on you because it challenges you. Every time you hear things that are relatable, it challenges you to think. If it makes you feel uncomfortable when you're listening to that, or it's making you question, you need to listen to yourself, don't you? And you need to act on it. And so it's kind of like the responsible thing to do for me, to listen to the voice in my head, which is saying you would benefit now some time off alcohol because you've got a lot to do. You feel better. I want to get fit, and I never get fit because even if I'm just drinking a little bit, it just... Again, I talk about that thing where it just demotivates me. Like when I've got a hangover, I just have no motivation to do anything. It's the same with the alcohol, even if it's just a few pints here, a few pints there, a few too many on a Saturday, it will demotivate me for days. Yeah. It will take it out of me for days. And I'll just never get the fitness thing going. And so I'm at that point now where I really want to do this. I've got a partner and who's trying to get fit for a cycle ride, and a sister, and it's like we can do this together. And so I want to give it a real go. But I think, like I said, being involved in this podcast is already, even just a few weeks in, it's had a positive effect on me, because it brings these things to the front of your mind and makes you think about it. And I hope that people who are listening, it will do the same for them, because like we don't all have a circle of friends that we can have these conversations with. You might be the only one out of a group of people, of your regular group of people, who's even considering doing something like this. So where do you go for that support, like you've already mentioned?
I think you just need to like submerge yourself in it. So like when I've started, I've been like listening to the audiobooks. I've got my sober.freedom Instagram account, which, you just surround yourself with these influences, and hopefully like it'll go in. My partner said to me like, oh, I feel like you're getting a bit obsessed with it, and that's all I hear coming out of your phone and things, but it's like that's what I need right now to keep me on the track. And I enjoy it. I think it's really inspiring, but I think if you are starting out and you are on your own like that, you've just got to get as much inspiration and influence as possible.
Absolutely. And I don't know Si, so, and maybe speaking out of turn, but I can see how maybe potentially that is challenging for him to see you go from one extreme to the other. However, in a previous episode, you've mentioned that, he's not drinking on the head. It sounds like he's done it he's taken a different approach to you, but you doing it the way that he's done it might not benefit you.
Yeah. So
you have to do what is going to benefit you until you get to a point where you may never get to a point. Here's me now saying until you get to a point where you don't have to act like that. Act how you want. It's you're your own person, and if by submerging yourself in books, podcasts, all sorts of things is helping you to elevate yourself, which is ultimately going to benefit him as your partner and your kids and your business and you as an individual, then tough shit for a little bit. It is because what's the alternative, Christal? What's the alternative? You know what I mean?
Well, go back.
Make yourself small and
or
suffer.
Yeah, or be very tempted to be like, well, actually, it's all right, I can just go and have a drink, which I know I absolutely cannot.
It's a term that's bandied about a lot, about being authentic, innit? And being true to yourself. But like, I'm dead proud of Si, my brother, because of he's listened to himself. He's been true to himself. He's been authentic. I'm proud of you because you've done the same thing.
But he did it he did it initially as well.
Well, you're listening. You've got this voice in your head, and or you might have had Si Peck in your head for a bit, but like you've had you've got this. You have this inner dialogue, and you listen to it, and you act on it. And that's really, really important. And like me and Si, for example, like we used to go to watch the football. We always used to end up arguing because he would say I was being a right dick, but he was being a right dick. Right? But we get into it gets to a certain point in the night. We've been drinking all day, and we just said something stupid would trigger us. We'd end up arguing. It would happen all the time. And we don't do that anymore. We don't argue anymore because we're not both a couple of drunk dickheads that, that are in that, putting ourselves in that situation. So it's obviously better for our relationship, and like, it's just, I think I'm not going to turn around and say to everybody, like, stop drinking or do this or do that, but I'd certainly analyse your relationship with drink and drugs and other things, other addictive behaviours, and ask yourself why you're doing them, and do look into it. You have to have that honest conversation with yourself. Hold yourself accountable, or think about it. Don't just don't just think that, well, it's always, like you say, culture, and it's always been this way, so it will always be this way. That you be honest with yourself and
exactly, and like you say, if something that you hear in one of these episodes resonates with you, or even just makes you think, even for a split second, that again, mind, gut, instinct, energy. Why? Don't just think, and then let that thought float out the other side of your head. It's resonated. It's piqued your interest for a reason. So, if you, I don't know if brave is the right word, but if you're brave enough to kind of have a minute and think about okay, why is that piqued my interest? Explore it and take it from there, because there will be a reason.
Mm.
I think don't you? I think like when you start to, certainly for me, like when you start to notice the information out there, it's because you already have probably known, like you've said as well, Matt, like for like 10 years, really, you've known it's not been doing you any favours, and it's like chipped away. So then you do hear these things and it's like another drip saying like, oh yeah, maybe there's a little problem here. Mm-hmm. Maybe there is something I need to challenge. But it could take a long time to sort of get to grips with that, couldn't it, before you start taking action. But I think as well, like if people are thinking of taking the action, and obviously we're at the beginning of the year now, we've got like dry January and everything. I don't think like a month will help people, definitely, but I don't think it's long enough to feel many benefits from where I was drinking. I don't think a month would help. I'm 8 months in. After 2 months, once I'd kind of finally got around to not thinking about drinking all of the time, I was then struggling with like intense anxiety. So it's not like if you are taking a break, it isn't necessarily going to be easy. And there's other things that come up.
You need to commit to it, though. I think you do need to commit to it, and you need to give yourself the time and the space to do the work, and you need to be sober to do the work. If you want to do the work on yourself, you want to figure out what it is that makes you dependent on alcohol or need certain things in certain situations, and so then you need time. You need time with a clear head, and your body needs to feel good. Your mind needs to feel good. I've not had a drink for 7 days, and that's not unusual for me, by the way, to go like periods of time and not have a drink. It's not like I don't drink every day, but I'd got into a bit of a routine where I was drinking quite often, and Christmas was like the kind of the crescendo of that, I suppose. Yeah. And I feel a lot better. My
even after
better.
7
even
days.
After 7 days, because I'm eating better, because my focus is on eating well, moving more.
Is it because your focus is shift?
You keep, as soon as you start having a drink, you'll go back. It's like playing snakes and ladders. It's the same thing. So it's supposed to see, because I'm the producer of the podcast, so I can check in with me, and I'll let you know how I'm getting on. But the good thing is that I get to listen to this a lot, and it will help me. It will certainly help me. It has helped me already.
That's the point.
Yeah. So well done on setting up this podcast.
Oh, thank you for sharing your story and your journey so far.
It's a pleasure. The Sober Freedom podcast is hosted by Christal, Dauncey and Lisa McGinnis. To leave comments, ask questions and interact with the show, follow @sober.freedom on Instagram. Please also subscribe, rate and leave comments wherever you listen to help us reach more people. The show is recorded at KUPOD Studios in Oldham and produced by me, Matt Dean, with video production from Eddie Corteen for KUPOD Productions. For more information, please visit kupod.co.uk.